I say hello, I say hello, and I also say hola, ¿cómo estás? I'm Tim C.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear opening statements from Joshua Crisco Kid Carmona.
Bruce, thank you so much for the introduction. I want to say thank you for the opportunity tonight to be here to speak to not only the people who are participating, the media partners, but also the people that will be watching after. I want to say thank you to La Campesina, Telemundo Arizona, Power 98.3, Riviera Broadcasting, and everyone else, especially here at Roosevelt 16, such a staple right in the center of Phoenix, for hosting this event, and for UMP Media for graciously doing the production for today's event. Just in short, I want to say, if you don't know a lot about me, maybe you've never heard the Crisco Kid Block Party on Power 98.3. Maybe you've never been to Famous Churros or never went and got to experience our food in Sunny Slope. I'm a Texas boy. I have a lot of energy, and I'm excited to call Phoenix home for the last 4.5 years. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm a boyfriend, fiance if I get lucky, and I'm a father to a 2-year-old son. And I'm just grateful to be here and for this opportunity, like I said. And it's very unfortunate that Mayor Kate Gallego and Marissa Hamilton have chosen not to be here tonight. And I thank you, Tim, for stepping up and being a part of this debate. It's important that we have these conversations. And again, it's just unfortunate, and it just shows what Mayor Kate Gallego has been about and what she is about. Thank you.
I have the honor of asking the first question, and I will direct it with the first answer to Mr. Carmona. Small businesses have been particularly hard hit this year. As mayor, how will you support the struggling businesses and help them build in the future?
Right. Small business is something that I take personally because myself, as a small business owner, have been affected by COVID-19. We opened Famous Churros, like I said, in Sunny Slope in December 2019. We had our grand opening January 2020. We applied for the grants. We applied for small business loans and assistance, and we were denied by the city of Phoenix. The criteria I guess we didn't meet the criteria at the time. And now tomorrow at City Hall, you're seeing that City Council is bringing back the CARES funding and seeing how they're going to revise how our communities get the funding now. Because what they put out, it didn't work. Because my restaurant, we had to close our doors. And I've talked to so many other people that are either on the verge of shutting their doors or that have already suffered. So my goal is to champion small business, the mom and pops, and the small business and local business, and bring them back, give them opportunity to be successful in Phoenix.
I too am a small business owner, and I have supported all the small business owners that I can get in contact with. So they have come to me, and just like Joshua said about the city, they were refused. So they asked me to come to their small business, and I was able to set up programs on the outside of city through my outside resources and get them help. I promoted the small business since I've moved here from Chicago 21 years ago. I've gotten with the small business owner and taught them how to get funds that they could not get from the city. I got them resources that wasn't able to get through the city, and I've helped them. I've also participated in any program that they had for assistance. So when I got there to these, whatever it was, I patronized it. I spent money. I have organizations to spend money. So I am a small business owner, and that's close to my heart also. So that's what I've done. I've supported the small business that has not gotten any help through the city and did the best that I can do. Of course, we can't help all, I did the best job that I could do. And as the next mayor, I will make sure all those programs are afforded to those that really need the help. Because a lot of the business owners that did get help, we could have helped some other ones that really needed it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your answers. My name is Dana Cortez. I want to thank you for asking me to be a part of this incredible night here in Phoenix. My first question will go to Tim first. Hindsight is 2020. So, I mean, of course, we could all quarterback now, but if you could go back to March when we all found out about COVID, how would you have handled things differently as the mayor of Phoenix?
If I was the mayor of Phoenix, I would have had a program already in place. We're at war here. And when you're a good leader and a good general, you prepare for these things. Even though the last pandemic was 100 years ago, you need a program in place. Just like the United States government had one in place. Each city, each state need to have a pandemic committee already in place so these things are happening. Now, during war, you got beat the first time, we did. But we should never get beat the second time. There should be a plan in place right now. What I mean by a plan in place, we need it right now to take care of these situations.
So on day one, that's what you would do, is put that in place.
Correct.
Okay. Joshua, same question. Hindsight is 2020, but if you could go back to March when we all found out about COVID-19, how would you have handled things differently as the mayor of Phoenix?
Right. You know, I agree with what Tim said, that there should be plans in place when things like this happen. The unfortunate thing is that COVID-19 coronavirus, it was so new to where even our CDC, the World Health Organization, it was kind of touch and go. They were experimenting here. We should try this. We should try that. And I think the important thing for us to do is evolve. However, I will say that our city needed strong leadership. And I would definitely would have, I'm sorry, some people aren't going to like this, but I would have mandated mask a little earlier. I would have chose to save as many lives as we could have. Look, I know unless you have a health condition, it may be hard or it may be uneasy for you, for some people, but this can save lives. People have proven that it saved lives, whether you may have COVID-19 or it could stop the spread of it. But unless you're physically unable to wear the mask, I would have definitely shown leadership, made that decision early, and kept moving forward.
Thank you.
I want to apologize to writing candidate Juan Scoble because I forgot to read his answer to the previous question. If I could go back to what help small businesses, what help he would provide. He said he would be providing the proper relief funds to local businesses to make sure they don't go bankrupt and close permanently during disasters such as the ongoing pandemic, improve neighborhood amenities and ease certain regulations to allow small business growth, and expand workforce programs for small businesses to provide new employees, as many will not have the resources to hire new employees as they're struggling. His answer to Ms. Cortez's question about how he would handle things differently, Mr. Scoville, again, the writing candidate, responded, as mayor, I would have immediately recommended face mask wearing, especially for City of Phoenix employees, as well as doing daily briefings through the media to educate local citizens on the dangers of COVID-19 and how to protect themselves. I would have met with local health experts to draft a plan to provide access to testing throughout the city as a way to contain the spread of coronavirus. And finally, as mayor, I would have argued that all businesses should be allowed to stay open as long as they are following COVID guidelines. Closures of businesses had a very negative impact on the local economy in the long run, which we are seeing now. For our next question, Mr. Prado.
Thank you for being here, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to La Campesina. It's a quick question that I have for you guys. There's a plan to combat COVID-19 in 2021. What's the difference that you will apply? How do we fight COVID-19 in 2021?
Did you
Do you
say
have a
what?
plan for it?
A plan for it.
Yes.
Just as I spoke before, is it my turn to speak? I didn't want to
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Just as I said before, we need a plan in place now. And that should be, hopefully that's planned now. So when these situations come up, we already have a plan. So that way we're not backpedaling. Okay, we got hit the first time. There's a situation right now that COVID cases may go up. So we need a plan in place now. And we'll improve on that as the future goes on. But we have to do something right now for us a plan.
I think the plan is, again, we're still finding cures, we're still developing vaccines, but what we can control, because we don't know when those vaccines will be released, but what we can control is opportunities for people in our communities to be tested. What we can do is focus on if contact tracing is going to be a thing, because most people I've ever talked to, when I asked, were you asked about contact tracing, were you asked who were you in contact with in the past couple of days, and everyone that I've talked to says no. We make a big deal about contact tracing, but who is actually doing it? So if contact tracing is actually going to be a thing, well, then we should probably start implementing it and doing it if that's what the science is saying. But I think it's very important that we follow the science, we follow compassion, we follow humanity, and do what's best for communities in moving forward in 2021, and at the same time encouraging and helping our small businesses and our communities grow and be successful as much as possible in 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, if you'd allow me to read write-in candidate Juan Scoville's answer to that question of, is there a plan to combat COVID-19 in 2021? He responded in writing to us, from what I've seen on a local and state level, there doesn't seem to be a clear plan to combat COVID-19 and its after effects. There needs to be a proper and transparent plan to combat COVID-19 other than mask mandates and telling people to stay home. With our next question, Ms. Atondo.
Hi, my name is Angelica Atondo. I'm a news anchor for Telemundo. My question is, will you consider providing funds to undocumented immigrants if another pandemic hurts the economy? Can we start with you?
Sure. And thank you for the question. Thank you for being here. Undocumented workers, food workers, migrant workers have been key in the success of people still being able to get food during COVID-19. They've been the most underappreciated group of people, and they've kept this economy going and have received the least compensation. People have forgot about the undocumented workers and the migrant workers, the farm workers. These people are keeping the economy moving. They're keeping food on everyone here's table. However, I believe that we should also take care of the people that need the resources here, American citizens, Phoenicians that need those resources as well. So let's take care of home first, and then let's take care of the people that are taking care of us. So yes, the answer is I would find funds to keep the economy moving and take care of the people that continue to take care of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same question.
I agree also with Joshua said. There should be funds allocated for this anyway. This is a part of the program. This is a part of the budgeting. This would be a big part of the budgeting. So they should never feel left out if they're here in the United States and they are here working. And like you say, most of us, we do jobs that we won't do to sacrifice. And we need to have funds for those to help them. If they're here on the visa, they have family here, they're here to take care of our needs that most people won't take care of. They need to be taken care of also. It is an equal opportunity state, and we should treat it just as that.
Thank
Equal
you.
opportunity for funding.
And I will read write-in candidate Juan Scoville's answer to that question about would you consider providing funds to undocumented immigrants if another pandemic hurts the economy. He wrote, taxpayers should come first. I would provide relief funds to undocumented immigrants who have an individual taxpayer identification number, an ITIN. As for the ones who don't, I would provide ways to help undocumented immigrants apply for an ITIN so they can receive those relief funds. Ms. Cortez is next with her question.
So my next question, Joshua, I'll begin with you. The Latino community has been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. In Arizona's Maricopa County, Latino residents have been twice as likely to become infected with COVID-19 as non-Latino residents. And in late May, the Navajo Nation had one of the highest infection rates in the country. What is your plan to not only educate this demographic, but also save lives?
Right. Very great question. There's no doubt, and the science has shown that COVID-19 has affected all communities of color, Black, Brown, Native. And I think what we need to do is offer more resources to those communities. I kind of touched on it earlier where I said offer more testing, offer the rapid testing, and even education, because a lot of people, programs or the government will say, hey, this is here, but yet they don't take the extra step to show the people how to get to those resources. And we have to do a better job at that. There's no reason why whole families, there's a Valley family right here who has lost so many members of one family due to COVID-19. It's unacceptable. And because there wasn't the resources, they couldn't get the help that they needed immediately. It wasn't available. And I think we have to do that and target communities in the city to where we can get the help to the people that need it.
Thank you very much. Tim, same question. Obviously, communities of color, especially the Latino community, have been affected disproportionately by COVID-19, and the Navajo Nation as well. What is your plan to help not only educate this demographic, but also save lives?
We do have a serious problem here, and it's just not the Latinos. There's a big number of Blacks also that even not tested yet because they're afraid. The Black and Brown are actually afraid to get tested. So the numbers that we have now are actually not true. They're not true because we, as Black and Brown, are afraid to get tested because we're afraid of government. We're afraid of our leadership that we have now that don't feel comfortable. So we got a bigger problem than just not just getting tested. We have to educate to get us all tested. Because if we all don't get tested, the numbers will never be right. And we'll have people that has COVID-19 and don't know it and still will continue to spread that. So we have to educate everyone, because it is a big problem amongst us all. But we have to educate, get the job done.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Did you want to respond?
Can I just respond? Because I would like to add on to that, because he does make valid points. And I think this comes with community, and I think this comes with trust as well. It's exactly what he said, because I know plenty of families that didn't feel comfortable. You heard about early testing. There were lines. There were lines to get the testing, right? It was free. Everyone come out. But as soon as the federal government may have come in play, there was a lot of hoops to go through. They wanted a lot of personal information, and communities of colors just did not trust the government. And you have to rebuild that trust, because if not, they're not going to go. We're not going to go get the help that we need because of lack of trust.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Write-in candidate Scoville's answer to the question. He says, my following plan to address this issue would expand COVID testing in areas with heavy Latino populations, such as Maryvale, East Phoenix, South Phoenix, etc. Provide information through social media platforms and pamphlets in both English and Spanish about the symptoms and dangers of COVID-19, recommended guidelines and resources, and partner with local manufacturers to produce and distribute face masks to families who do not have access to face coverings. For our next question, Mr. Prado.
Thank you. This administration has shown or has created a racial tension. How do we have any plans to eliminate these racial differences in the community? Any of you?
I'm going to apologize.
So the
I didn't
administration
really
has
hear you.
created a lot of tension in the community racially. How do we eliminate and bring together the community in 2021?
Are you referring to the police or just the community itself?
Community itself.
Here's the thing. We're a diverse city. There's just about every national creed that is in Phoenix. If we don't understand that this city belongs to us and we start act as a family, no matter what color you are, there will be a division. Until we start communicating, start working with each other, and do equal opportunity, whether it's economics, social, or education, then we'll become a family as Phoenix. I look at it from on the outside. People look into Phoenix and I hear the negativity. It is time for us to get Phoenix back and get us back together as a family. Once we do that, we'll be able to live amongst each other, spread amongst each other, and grow.
Unlike Mayor Kate Gallego, who unfortunately is not here to comment on this, and unlike Marissa Hamilton, I would think that the two of us have spent time in different communities across Phoenix, all colors, all races, all genders, all ages, whatever you want to say. And it seems that the other two candidates that aren't here today show exactly how committed they are to eliminating racial differences or bringing equality and inclusion. We talk about equality, we talk about diversity, but inclusion is missing. And I think these two candidates that didn't show up today, that shows exactly what their intentions are and how they operate their administrations, because they don't fully understand inclusion. They don't spend time in these communities except for when photo ops. You know, early in my campaign, I said we need a mayor that is for the streets and for the avenues. Some of these mayors don't even spend time in avenues. So how do they know how to serve the people? In church this past Sunday, shout out to Linwood. I was a guest over there and I appreciate that invite. But the guest pastor, or the guest speaker, Sadi, I believe her name is, she spoke about love and talked about that in order to love fully and love properly, and I see the time sign, just let me get to this because this is important. In order to understand how to fully love someone, you have to have knowledge on how to love. You have to understand the people in the communities and how to fully love. So he's right. We do need a more family aspect, but we also need unity because there's no unity without you and I. We have to understand each other so we can fully get to that point of conversations and actually acting on things that are going to benefit all of us. The two candidates that are not here show exactly where they stand and bridging the gap for the communities.
Thank you.
I will read Mr. Scoville's response to the question. He starts with a quote, "We're all human and equal, no matter what our skin color is the message I want to send as mayor, and that racism will not be tolerated anywhere in the community or local politics. We need unity more than ever in the hectic times like these." With our next question, Ms. Atondo.
Maryvale area has more than 200,000 residents, and it has been one of the most unsafe neighborhoods to live in Phoenix for decades. How would you decrease crime rate in that area, Mr. Steve?
Since COVID-19, crime rate has risen 25%. We must understand the economics of why it has risen. When there's unemployment, and which is the highest in the state right now since the 40s, comes crime. With crime, people have to eat. If we don't get into the communities and provide programs, there will be high crimes. So we have to get into these communities that are unemployed and make sure that they're working. I'm not talking politics now. I'm talking street now. What I mean by that is, if we don't get people back to working, there's going to be some crime. And there'll be nothing that no mayor or president or anybody else can do.
But this has been an unsafe and a high crime rate area for decades, way before COVID-19.
Okay, I'm not sure where you got that statistic from. I think in South Phoenix, where I live, is the highest crime rate.
I did not say highest. I said one of the highest.
Okay, one of the highest. And I'm just telling you what I'm doing in the community where I live. I met with them. I met with the gang leaders. I met with the so-called killers. I met with them in my home, and I've addressed that. So as a community leader, where I live, that's what I took care of. So if I'm the mayor, I can go into these communities. I'm not sure if the current mayor or Marissa can go into the neighborhoods that myself and Joshua can go into. They're not bred like that. So you have to give us an opportunity first. If the opportunity is not there, we have to. We cannot sit back and wait on someone else to do it. If you're the mayor of the city and you love your city, you're there to protect your city and its resident. So we have to get into these cities, get with the people that's causing these crimes, whatever we need to do, and talk to them and provide programs. If it doesn't provide programs, we take another level and we have to get rid of them off the streets. That's street talk.
Were you saying that Marisa Hamilton and Mayor Kate Gallego can go into these neighborhoods or are not prepared to go in these neighborhoods because they're women?
I don't think I said that. And because they're women, that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. I said that they probably wouldn't go in the neighborhood. It's fact. I don't see them there. I met with all the leaders in South Phoenix. I didn't see them there. It's not about no woman. It's not about no man. It's not about black and white. It's not about Democrat and Republican. It's if you're there to serve the community, you have to get into the community. I never mentioned anything about because they were women. That has nothing to do with it.
Thank you. Mr. Carmona, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. He does make valid points. Mr. C does make valid points about reaching out to community leaders. I know we're discussing Maryvale right now, and I'll keep with that, but it's a valid point because I've lived in Houston. That's my hometown. And so from 3rd Ward to 2nd Ward to 5th Ward to Greenspoint, and even here in any city I've ever done radio in, it's about connecting with the parts of town that most people don't feel comfortable going into. And when you're connected with the city, you have that availability and that ability to talk to the people that are local, that are, I don't want to say in charge, but that control street life. Now, the mayor has to feel comfortable even being around these neighborhoods, A, and B, being open to have those conversations. Man or woman, I think, like he said, if you built for that or you come from that or you understand that, like I kind of talked about earlier, then you can know how to have these conversations. Now, as far as Maryvale, I've had conversations with not only Sheriff Penzone, but also different Phoenix police officers, and we've talked about different areas of town. And one thing that I would like to encourage is getting more community policing, for police officers to actually know the people that are in their communities. That's so important. You're seeing programs that are like that in other major cities. For some reason, Mayor Gallego, and she's been in city council for so many years and as mayor, hasn't really taken the time to be proactive on certain policy that some of the larger cities in the United States, we're the 5th largest city. Why are we barely doing a ban on carotid holds, chokeholds? Why are we barely bringing in civilian oversight committee, which I know we're going to get into next, but we should have been proactive in doing things in Maryvale to make sure that there's more community policing, more programs that we can get people involved to understand that you have to have unity in the community. And it takes people like Sunny Slope Block Watch. I'm a part of the East Sunny Slope Block Watch. And our community is active, we're strong, and we have the availability to talk with the city as well. And it definitely deters crime in a Sunny Slope area. And when you show community involvement and you can't come together, that when you implement strong block watch communities, you can make a difference. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will read the answer to the question regarding crime in Maryvale and decreasing that crime rate from write-in candidate Scoville. He wrote, many people turn to crime because they do not have opportunities or outlets. As mayor, I would expand more work and apprenticeship programs to help the unemployed and homeless population gain the skills they need to better themselves as well as their communities. Work with local school districts to provide improved education as well as offer more after-school programs such as sports and performance arts programs in order to keep them from falling victim to drugs and gangs. Help Phoenix PD repair the broken relationship with Maryvale residents. An improved relationship between the police department and the residents will lead to more cooperation, which allows police to combat crime more efficiently and provide easier access to rehab programs in the Maryvale area to help those addicted to drugs become sober through programs. That's his answer. I now have a question that I would like to ask of both of you. I'll start with Mr. Carmona with this. This year, the Phoenix City Council approved a civilian review board for the Phoenix Police Department. Do you support civilian oversight of law enforcement? And if so, should there be limits to the board's power?
The answer is yes. There needs to be a civilian review board. Like I've mentioned earlier, Phoenix is playing catch up. Mayor Gallego and her administration are playing catch up, but she's been a part of city council. These things should have been in play here. It amazes me that now, I think like if George Floyd hadn't been killed, if Deion Johnson locally, Ryan Whitaker, Jay Garcia, if these people had not been killed, this conversation may not even be taking place right now. We wouldn't even be talking about an Office of Accountability and Transparency or a civilian review board. It would just be continue to be swept under the rug like it's been for so many years before. We're barely implementing body cameras. Body cams have been around for years, and in 2018-19, it was just voted on to become standard of the Phoenix Police Department. It's time not to play catch up, but to be proactive. But as far as the civilian review board, I know one of the hot topics this past week was having police officers on, or are they having activists, or are they having protesters involved? And I know the city council had agreed to listen to the different people in the community about who can be participating. And once they, I guess, had come to an agreement, city council had flipped the whole policy or the proposal and started including different things that the people hadn't really agreed to. I do believe the civilian review board, though, is key. It's necessary because you have members of the community, business leaders that know their areas, that know the city, that can contribute positively to find the solutions that we're going to rebuild that trust, build that trust, and find the solutions that we need with law enforcement and the community.
Mr. C., your response.
I do agree with the board, the civilian board, but the components of the board must be structured differently. There'll never be a time where civilians can police the police. What you're doing is setting up TNT, a dynamite that's going to explode, because they know they don't have the power to do that. So you have to build the committee a different way. It must be like some ex-law enforcement from somewhere else. It could be like the internal affairs that most every city have. We don't have. When you structure it like that, then it becomes effective. Because what you're doing now is starting a fight. Because the police don't want to be policed by civilians. That's not going to happen. What we need to do is reconstruct, come up with a better plan to build that in a way where there's going to be some officers to make people accountable for the things that they do and pay the price for it. So that is my belief, and it is a good thing, of course, but it needs to be reconstructed.
Thank you for that.
I don't know how the debate, we didn't kind of talk about this in the debate rules, but are we allowed, since the other candidates aren't here, can we kind of have a discussion on that, or how exactly can that work?
Can I read the answer from Mr.
Sure,
Scoville?
sure.
And then I think we have time that I'll let you two maybe go a little bit deeper into it. Again, write-in candidate Scoville responded to that question. Citizen review boards are a great start to holding police officers accountable for their actions and reducing police violence in a city. There shouldn't be limits to the board's power as long as they reflect the needs of the community. What would you like to say?
So I think I think we kind of agree, but we disagree on who can be in part of the board and kind of restructuring it. One thing, you said, hey, police, they don't want to be told what to do by civilians. But at the same time, we're the taxpayers. We're the employers. It's our money that goes towards funding police departments. And they're paid to protect and serve. And let me put this out there. I support law enforcement. I support first responders. I just think there has to be a checks and balance. We have it in the three branches of the government. Life is about checks and balances. At every company, you can't just do everything and have your own people kind of investigate. It just looks wrong. It's a conflict of interest. And I believe that when you have police kind of policing police, that's where some people that they have a problem with that. So maybe do we have, and this is just a question, do we have officers that are former Phoenix police, or do we have someone, if you came from Dallas or you came from Los Angeles, how do we determine those officers that would be a part of the board? What separates them to say, hey, these officers are good and then this person's retired, they can be on the board, or like, how do we choose which officers that would be a part of your policy?
And great answer, because I've had this conversation, and they were with ex-officers, police officers that were retired, that moved here. So there's nothing for them to be involved and say, oh, it's the blue. It's about right and wrong. So when you get an officer, I'm saying not the whole committee, but you need someone that knows officer law, that knows how officers act, have actually been through this. They know that. We have civilians that have not been through any class or anything. They have no idea how to address that. All they can say is stop the killing,
Right,
but
right.
it does not stop the killing.
Right.
They have to be held accountable. And that's why I say it can be like internal affairs. Internal affairs, if you're an officer, they were ex-officers, but they don't belong to that precinct. So they're coming there to make accountability. And that's what we have to do.
So in my conversation with Sheriff Pinzon, we talked about, we talked about accountability and transparency. I said we need to take it a step further for consistency, accountability and transparency, the CAT model. And I believe until you have that as the culture in any police department, then it's kind of, we're going in circles, because I think what people have a problem with is, and this is before it even gets to the Civilian Review Board, is that there's an inconsistency against sometimes when people are pulled over for here, or this person may be approached this way, just for being a 911 call when they actually needed help. And I think we have to have consistency on the way that people are pulled over, or on the way that they're responding to calls, because we do see inconsistencies between different communities. It is what it is. Some people will say no, some people will say yes. It is what it is. And until we get that consistency away about the way the law is applied to all of us, then I think having sometimes the review boards and police and all this, it just keeps going this same circle over and over and over.
Sure, but if you don't start somewhere,
Right.
and I'm for police too, we cannot live in a society without policing.
Correct.
We have carnage and craziness. So what we have to do is we have to be able to communicate.
Right.
I'm from Chicago, and the officers back then, they lived in the community. They knew every last one of us who lived in the community. So they didn't kill us. They might have beat you up. You know, they
Rough you up a little bit.
Take your badge off, and I'll beat. And that would happen.
Right.
But we had respect for them. They had respect for us. They were also our teachers in the community about the law. So we have to get that nucleus back. Officers can't come from everywhere to come into Phoenix, at a city that they care nothing about. So we have to get our officers back into the community, be involved in the community activities, and understand who is in the community. And once we do that, I think it will be a better choice. Of course, there's a shortage in everything we do. I always look at the other side too, because people say, well, you are not for police. I am for police. I am. Say, well, you want to defund the police. I was like, no, I don't want to defund the police, because you can't do that anyway. Economics won't allow that. If you're asking them to wear cameras and these safety things, it costs money. Also to store data, it costs money. So be careful what you ask for. It's not about defunding the police. It's also holding them accountable. And I think if we can get together, and the mayor should be ahead of that. The mayor should be ahead of that.
Well, unfortunately, we see the empty chair here.
I appreciate this discussion. And
Sorry about that,
No,
Mr.
I
Moderator,
understand
but-
we need to move on for our next
Yes.
question. I turn it over to Ms. Cortez.
I'm glad that Ms. Atondo asked the question she did. She talked about Maryvale. And, last year before COVID and before I moved to Phoenix, I had the pleasure of hosting the Mayoral Gala in San Antonio, Texas. And now I have the privilege of being a moderator in my new city,
Yeah.
Phoenix, Arizona. What I care about is community. I've been here a very short amount of time and already been active in the community. I have a young child. So this next question is very important to me wherever I go. I said it to the congressman, to the senators, and the mayor in San Antonio, and I'm going to ask you as well. If you are the mayor of a city and you have a child, I'm going to make the statement first, that you feel uncomfortable sending to a school in your city, you have already failed. So my question to you is, education in Phoenix is at an all-time low, in Arizona in general, but I want our city to lead us out of this hole. 49th in education, 50th in quality. Do you have a plan to help the city of Phoenix lead the rest of the state out of this terrible hole? Tim, I'll go with you first.
The question you asked is a good question, and that's on the state level. But I can say this, as a mayor, I sure could be an advocate of better schools. And what I mean by that, if you're the mayor, if you ride to a city and the school is inadequate, I got a problem with the state now. And I need to be an advocate to get funders in there, because I want people to know that I'm the mayor of this city and we have good schools. You can't be in a city and then it's on a state level and cannot be an advocate. I'm an advocate of education, and I've been planning on this for the last 10 years. How can we improve our education from the community level? But getting to the mayor spot and the state level, I could definitely be an advocate. And as I ride around, everybody should be afforded education. And I'm just saying, if this is my city, we can't have schools that's not educated.
Thank you so much, Tim. Same question, Joshua. Do you have a plan to help the city of Phoenix lead the way in education?
Yeah, thank you for that. I actually take this question personally because both my parents retired from education. So from an early age, I know what it's like. I knew what it's like to help my mom do drawings on an overhead projector so she can have supplies to actually teach students. I understood that at an early age. My father was a football coach. He got his MBA, got his master's degree, assistant principal at a school. They both put their time in education. And one thing that I want to focus on as mayor of Phoenix is, like Tim said, there's some things that are at the state level. We have to champion our kids, though, and advocate for a better education. Mm-hmm. My job as mayor, though, will be to make sure that every child has access to the education. They have Wi-Fi. There's still cities, there's still communities, neighborhoods around the city that don't have Wi-Fi. You look at Rio Rancho, New Mexico, when I was there in the mid-2000s, they had a whole city of Wi-Fi. And I think we can implement that in parts of Phoenix, that we can provide free Wi-Fi, not just at public libraries, but actual whole parts of the city. It's 2020, and we're still talking about Wi-Fi access and kids having equal opportunity to get an education. Millennials, let me just say this real quick. I know it's time, but millennials, you have to understand now, born in 1980, they have children. Millennials have grown up. Gen Z now are young adults, some people voting for the first time this election, and now they have kids. Some millennials have grandkids, and we're still talking about the same things, getting equal access to these opportunities. We're not going to stand by and let the kids suffer and their education suffer anymore. It's time to be proactive, give the kids resources, laptops, whatever they need to be successful, at least the opportunity to get the resources.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I have the written response from write-in candidate Scoville to that question as well. He says, my plan would be to research other cities who are ahead of Phoenix in education and speak to educational professionals to figure out ways to improve our education system. We need to invest more in early literacy and preschool programs, encourage parents to be involved with their local schools, improve school facilities, and make sure all schools are a safe environment. For our next question, I turn it over to Oscar Prado.
Thank you, Mr. C. We know that we have lost many jobs in Phoenix due to this pandemic. There's plans to, and there's talks of bringing them back. But you guys have as a plan, a specific plan as mayors, how to bring those jobs back and quick to Phoenix?
Go first, Nate? Okay, sure. Part of my plan, and thanks for the question, is when you see Carmona or It's Time Phoenix, and you'll see my signs, it says families first, it says safer streets, it says smarter city. And I believe with jobs and creation, it falls under smarter city, whether it's building better infrastructure, smarter infrastructure. But also when you think about smarter city, it's creating different ways to create the opportunities for these businesses, not just small businesses, but we have to offer incentives for other companies to come in as well that can hire hundreds and thousands of people as well. So we have to look at whether it's different incentives or entitlements, different breaks, some things to help and encourage the bigger or business to come here. But at the same time, we have to offer more help to small businesses and really champion, because there is a lot of street vendors, food trucks, the local market here, the local culture is really starting to pick up. And it's unfortunate what happened in Mesa. My condolences to the family and people affected at the shooting on Friday. But that community has really grown. And I think when you champion those people, small business, local business, and create and encourage all growth to create jobs, because the two gentlemen here are job creators. We have small businesses, we have nonprofits, and we're able to create employment and jobs. And I think it's unfortunate that Kate Gallego and Marissa Hamilton are not here because maybe they can't speak on that. And I think it's uncomfortable for them to have that discussion. But definitely champion and encourage more business and opportunity grants, et cetera. Thank you.
And me also, I'm community first and politics second. Like I've told many people before, I'm really not a politician. I'm a humanitarian. But I know the rules of engagement. And what I see as a city looking in, I've created programs. We got a little bigger problem than what we think. During my campaign run, it was 10 times harder for me, but I'm gonna do a 10 times better job. When I say this, I'm looking at the reform system. I'm looking where the needs, the homeless, the whole gamut. And what I found out, most of the citizens of Phoenix aren't even registered to vote. How can you make changes if you're not even registered to vote? I have people that have been in the reform system and they're out now. And I provide a program for where they can get their rights back so they can be involved in the community. Because if you're not involved in the community, you can't make any changes. So I've helped in the thousands get registered, also getting their rights back. These are the numbers that people forget about. And if we can't get them to the table, we can't build a better community, because they'll be left on the outside and they can't help. So my job is the mayor, the community leader, we have to get everybody involved. We can't get certain bills passed because economically they know the number will never match up with a pass anyway if it's affecting the community. We have to stop thinking about politics first and start thinking about the community.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Write-in candidate for Mayor Juan Scoville responded to our questions in writing as he could not be here tonight. His answer to a plan to change the fact that so many people have lost their jobs, he wrote, "As mayor, I want to expand and promote work and apprenticeship programs. The fact Phoenix makes access to work and apprenticeship programs difficult is disturbing. My plan would also help reduce the homeless problem Phoenix is currently facing." With our next question, I turn it over to Ms. Atondo.
Voters are deciding on the future of marijuana in our state. Do you support or oppose to Proposition 207, and why? Mr. C.
Proposition 207, there's a lot of things that's added in there where it's fooling the voters. The reason I say that because they have certain things at the top that don't match the bottom. So it's very hard to agree to disagree on that proposition. Are you asking me, should marijuana be legal? Yeah, it should be legal. It's just like the prohibition in the 1930s, the 18th Amendment, where they forbidden alcohol. The taxes off the alcohol caused the economy to fall. So what they do, the 21st Amendment, they made alcohol legal. So marijuana is in that same situation right now. Of course, it's going to be taxed on. Should it be legal? Yes, it's going to come with some rules. Just like driving with alcohol. You can't drive in your car. Same way with marijuana. So if you're asking me, do I approve of 207? Yes, I would, because at the bottom of that expungement is to eliminate some of the penalties that suffer crimes that they get spent time with it. So yeah, I do approve that.
Thank you. Mr. Carmona.
Yeah, so again, I think this is an important question because this was on the ballot in 2016 and it failed. So to bring it again in 2020 means that it's time to look at the way we view marijuana use, recreational or medicinal. And we have the research, there's the science. So if you've gone to Portland, and I know we say, hey, we don't want to turn Phoenix to another Portland. Yeah, but you look at Denver and the way that they're using kind of some of the funds that is helping create money for the local government. But let's talk about the money aspect of Prop 207. So the 16% rate, that's for anyone that chooses to purchase marijuana. You get up to 1 ounce. If you get caught with 1 ounce to 2.5 ounces, it becomes a petty misdemeanor. But like Tim C said, it is and like the rule says, it's the ability to go back and expunge for any previous offenses with marijuana use or marijuana possession. And I think that starts in July of 2021. So again, I'm going to say yes on Prop 207. I think if you're 21 and over and you're responsible, you can drink beer. You have the same ability to driving, one wrong way drivers in Arizona. What is the excuse for that? You can drink, and I think this could be a way to generate more funds that maybe, because in the bill it does, or in the proposition it does say that it goes for more programs. It does fund with first responders, police, fire department as well, and schools, and also helps funding community colleges that may not get the funds or the monies from anywhere else. So
Thank you.
I would say yes.
Thank you.
Write-in candidate Scoville responded to supporting or opposing Prop 207. He said, I support Prop 207. While the 16% tax, I believe is what he meant to say, on marijuana sales seems kind of high, the benefits outweigh the tax increases. It allows marijuana to be decriminalized. Revenue from the sales would be provided to fire departments, community college districts, Justice Reinvestment Fund, and finally, Prop 207 will allow for individuals to expunge their records of marijuana-related charges. Seems like he agrees in many ways.
That's right.
I have a question as we near the end of this debate. Should you be elected, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Phoenix in 2021? I'll start with you, Mr. C.
The biggest challenge is the communication with the safety of our city. Just as she stated about Maryvale, it is the mayor's job not to break it up into different districts. It is his job to support the entire city. We're in a different situation today, and safety will be my #1 priority. We must communicate anything that's involved in the safety of our city. So we need leadership. We need decision makers. We need people to make people accountable for action. So my biggest thing and my first thing is the safety of the city, most importantly to me.
Outstanding. Mr. Carmona.
Yeah, great question, because I think we all want to move forward. There will be a time where 2021, I know a lot of people think that COVID-19 is just automatically going to disappear and can't wait to get out of 2020. Thank God it's behind us. But COVID-19 will be here in 2021. And I think what we have to do is figure out how to really, like we talked about earlier, move forward, find options how to keep people safe and healthy, put those plays intact. Also, we have to figure out how to continue to, like I talked about earlier, encourage small businesses and local businesses to grow, offer opportunities, grants, and grants. And when I say opportunities that are actually attainable, not a lot of hoops, not a lot of, hey, well, you can have this, but you got to go through this first. You got to go through that, because that discourages people. And then they end up not getting the help that they need. And now you have a situation we're in right now where I believe there's almost $30 million that the city is just trying to give out now, which is why they're revising the eligibility criteria to get that money out, which should have been out to people. And now families have had to take their whole life savings that they saved up, mom and pops, and they've had to shut down those restaurants. So we got to get those people back running, encourage them, and also safety and rebuilding trust between the community and between the police, law enforcement, and really finding that unity and working together and acting on those solutions.
Write-in candidate Scoville responded to the question, the biggest challenge facing Phoenix would be rebuilding from the fallout that COVID-19 is causing, such as the shattered economy, as well as poverty and crime levels that have risen due to its effect. We received a question through our live stream, and I want to address it to both of you. Start with you, Mr. Carmona. It comes from a Victor Gomez. Thank you for watching. He says, it seems like what you're saying, and this is in reference to some of the earlier comments, is very similar to what the current mayor is doing. What differentiates you from Mayor Gallego? I'm
here. Where's Mayor Gallego? That's the simplest answer I can give. I'm here. You know, the moderators, the media partners here today are a reflection of this city. Looking at the campaign, my signs are in English and in Spanish. The only candidate for mayor, and I believe there's only one other sign that I've seen in Spanish during this campaign. I understand that 42% of Phoenicians or Arizonans speak Spanish, whether it's their first language, second language, or possibly third. Where's our mayor? I'm here. Where's Marissa Hamilton? I'm here. They both had opportunities to speak to a different audience, the people that matter, voters in different communities that they're not reaching. But it just shows it's disrespectful for them to not pay attention and to not talk to the media partners like Campesina, Telemundo Arizona, Power 98.3, and Riviera Broadcasting. That's the difference. I'm here.
Mr. C, same question to you. What differentiates you from Mayor Gallego?
I do believe it's my leadership skills. And what I mean by that, I've been in leadership all my life. To Victor Gomez, he asked the things that she's already doing. A good CEO, when he switches to a different company, he's hired to take over that company. In this case, it would be the city. So I really don't care what she's doing. I really don't. I plan on coming in there and do a better job anyway. And that's my thing. We got to get in and open up the books, see what we got, see can we make better or change all the way around. And we have to be in that position to do that. And you cannot be afraid to make decisions. I have not accepted endorsement from anyone. The reason why I have not accepted any endorsement, so when I get to the table, I can make decisions without anybody saying, I paid you to do that. It's a different ball game today. You got two candidates right now that are here, and we're completely different. We're completely different. We don't go about the political game. It's about taking care of this city, and it's time for that. And we need to get to the table to take care of that.
Thank you both for your responses, and I think I can speak on behalf of the moderators, my fellow moderators, and those watching, that we sincerely appreciate you being here and answering questions. Since we do have time at the end, I wanted to give each of you 2 minutes for some closing arguments, your final pitch, your plea to the voters of the city of Phoenix. Since Mr. C went first with his introduction,
okay,
I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
With your closing argument.
Sure. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching. I just really want to let the people know, let you know that, and I mentioned earlier, our generation, we're not going to fall for the old politics. Those ways are tired. They frankly haven't worked for so many years. I think it's time for diversity. It is time for inclusion, as I mentioned earlier. I also want to say that running as an independent candidate, I don't have any party affiliation. The mayor's office is nonpartisan. However, we've seen clear donations, clear endorsements for the Democrat candidate. And on the Republican side, Marissa Hamilton, you've seen clear donations from that campaign, PACs, and other support. I think in order to be a true nonpartisan office, we have to eliminate and we have to look at the way that campaign financing to where, like Tim C said, You have a candidate that is endorsed highly by one party, accepts all the money from one party. We see where their intentions lie. Same thing with Marissa Hamilton. I don't even know if she has a platform. I don't even know where her agenda is besides I love police and Trump. I don't know. So I think it's important that we get to the issues, we have plans, we talk with people, not just to people. We understand the community, we have real leadership, and when it show up when it actually counts, not avoid the conversation. You know, the reason I'm running, and it's because of Mayor Gallego's lack of response. I invited her on Power 98.3, the Crisco Kid Block Party, as so did Oh Jesus at nighttime to have a conversation. She bailed out, not once, but multiple times, tried to reschedule. We weren't a priority. Talking to our audience and our people wasn't a priority. Her lack of leadership in COVID-19 is another reason that I was like, you know, enough is enough. Our business didn't get the help we needed, and I know other Phoenicians are going through my struggle as well. As far as Marissa Hamilton, how can you talk about small businesses and encouraging growth when you don't own any? You don't know what it's like. How can you talk about family values? I'm the only candidate that has families first in my platform. And whether you have kids or not, look, and with the family dynamic, I don't care if it's man, woman, woman. I want to champion stronger families and get back to the programs and offer help that we need to build a stronger Phoenix. I'm all about helping hands, like to help up, not just handouts. A stronger people, a stronger community means a stronger Phoenix, and it's time, Phoenix. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carmona. Mr. C, your closing argument to the voters.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to, I'm going to call him Cisco Kid. Thank you for that.
Crisco, but yeah, there you go.
Also, the all here symbol. I haven't had that much opportunity to speak on a larger media schedule because they're not seeing us. They're not watching us. They're not paying attention to us.
Oh, they're paying attention.
Today is different. Now, as I say, the time is now. If we don't make a change, we'll never see a change. We got two candidates that's here now, and I won't speak of the other two because they're not here. We're here to make changes. We're here to make changes. And the reason I said about the endorsement, because I knew that would be a controlling factor. All the money that I've got has come from the voters. And now the voters have a voice. I'm there to speak for the voters, no one else. I'm here to speak for the people of the city of Phoenix, and it is time for leadership.
Thank you. Thank you very much to both of you, and again, for everyone watching and for our media partners. And I would like to point out again, Ms. Cortez from Power 98.3 and 96.1 Riviera Broadcasting, from Telemundo 39, Angelica Atondo, and from La Campesilla 1019, Cesar Prada. We sincerely appreciate those media partners being involved in this, and certainly appreciate both of you for being here, answering questions openly, honestly, in a respectful way as well.
Yes.
What a wonderful example that sets. I would like to think for
Feels good, right?
future
Actually have a
generations
discussion.
as well.
I mean, there's things that, you know,
You did an excellent job.
Thank
even with
you.
the glasses.
Sincerely appreciate that as well, and thank all of you for watching our Phoenix Mayoral 2020 debate.
in Carmona.